VitalHoops is for the culture.
Peace, Jumbo. Welcome to the Vital Hoops Podcast. My name is Fernando Cardenas, aka International XB. I am your host, and this is episode number 45. Now, the VITAL Hoop Fest just happened on November 25th. Shout out to everybody involved in that. Shout out to everybody who was able to make it out there. Shout out to everybody that supported in any way. VITAL Food Fest, it was amazing. Now to close out International Vegan Month, we have a very special guest today. Our guest is an organizer, an educator, and an author. He's also a former champion boxer and kickboxer. He's the co-founder of the grassroots artist movement, of the great BlackVegFest, and also of Liberation Farm. He's the author of Brother Vegan and an introduction to veganism and agricultural globalism. Our guest is Omowale Adewale. Omowale, peace, my brother. Welcome to the Vital Hoops Podcast. I appreciate you coming through, man.
Peace, brother. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you, Fernando. Good to hear the work that you're doing.
Thank you, man. Thank you, man. And much respect for everything that you're doing. Obviously, we're going to get into all that, man. Before, can you please tell the listeners a little bit about you, yourself, who is Omowale, what was it like growing up in Brooklyn, New York? And, and everything about from how you became, how you got into boxing, sports, all of that, and how you became a vegan, a little background.
Yo, that's definitely a lot. I'm gonna keep it really. I'm gonna try to keep it short.
Okay.
As as you get older, answering these type of questions, you start like, who's on my wallet, and so that might not necessarily even, in the past that might, because the interview was focused on the work that I'm doing, it's not necessarily me, right? Or maybe it is, so I feel like who I am is, the focus is on, is on liberation. Even if I go back, in terms of, addressing this work, my mom really got me into doing a lot of this work. And in this work, when we contextualize this work, I always mean it, liberation for my people, right? And I feel like, in talking about, this work is organized, it's connecting with people, and you might have to connect with other people, but that work is, is centered around your people. You're moving as a unit, you're moving together, and of course, you're going to connect with other, folks. So my mom is a Black Panther, Party member, organizer, between 69 and 71. This is her as a teen, because a lot of the, the Panthers, were young, they were in their teens, and you had so much of a fire. I feel like, it always makes me think, because I never want to forget, instead of critiquing our young people, they will absorb that and they will move with that if they feel like they can trust you. Right. And they will move, and how we figure out if they can, trust you, we have to be willing. We have to be willing to extend, trust to them, and see if they will reciprocate where they are, and that might be difficult. So my mom didn't have that much as, I can't even say, how much time, what was going on, my mom. I can say that more about, myself or, other young people, today. Yeah. But at 16, 17, she got into it, because the Panthers wanted to address an issue that was actually on her mind. She was 16 and thought she had lupus. That's what my mom told me. Okay. And so she went to one of the clinics. And so you got to understand this. For Black people to have anything, we had to have created it. And people don't understand this, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't something that they're going to fund. The government didn't fund our stuff. We had to create and build every single thing. So what the Panthers were doing, whenever you see Black folks, when they're doing it, we the ones that came up with this idea. You know what I'm saying? So and so I know people got that understanding already know by now, but I'll continue to say it. You know, the Panthers brought, you know, breakfast, you know, for school children, you know, to all the schools and the public schools in the US. They did that, you know, by addressing the needs for Black people. You know, clinics is another thing. They had clinics, you know, and so they had clinics all over, you know, New York City, but they also had, you know, they had clinics from east to west, and they had, you know, across the Midwest in Chicago, Frank Hampton Senior. So this is kind of like, you know, a lot of her passion at that time. Basically, if I fast forward, because she became a Panther right after that. You know, just in
17, 18 years
checked
old.
her over, huh? She was 16.
Okay, wow. Okay.
Only about 16, you know. And so like now the parallel, I was diagnosed with you know, hypertension when I was around 15. So I was also concerned with my health at that particular point. And my mom, you know, thought more about her health, and this is one of the reasons why, you know, I am, you know, today. So my mom put so much, you know, so when, you know, after the Panthers, we would go into meetings to people that we thought, you know, were Black and had the right interests of Black people. So we would support them for different political campaigns, right? You know, we agree with this brother, you know, let's go, you know, support this brother. They kind of basically on the ground. So even when you know, you could, and this is all volunteer work. So if you're trying to help and build, because people are going to intersect, you know, the movement different ways. You know, and this is one of the ways my mom brought me to the labor movement, you know, even the strikes, you know, she told me, you know, about, you know, past just, you know, New York 21, you know, where the Black Panthers, you know, were attacked and you know, and arrested, multiple, you know, charges, Asada Shakur being one of them.
Right.
You know, and so just always going to the courthouse and making it up. People got to understand, folks, when these Panthers were locked up, when anytime, you know, the political prisoners, when we had this, you know, this particular consciousness during that time, and occasionally we have it today, people, as you can see, the marches that's happening now, it's regularly, it's constant, it's consistent. So we don't, people not, you know, going home, you know, during that time. So, you know, if I was to compare, you know, that time, you know, 60s and, you know, to today, you know, in the movement, you know, I'm organizing, you know, today. So I know some things have changed. I would always feel like, to give it a quick grade, it's moving slow. But that might have been the same thing somebody else said. Like a bunch of people might feel like it's moving slow all the time. So I'll take that, you know. So I kind of came, you know, through my mom, even in terms of, you know, healthier food, you know, taking that process, you know, and then, you know, I went vegetarian, you know, at 15, just having a conversation with my brother. This is when I been told I had hypertension. At first I didn't know what it was, and then, you know, it became really clear, you know, to me, but I still didn't address it the right, you know, the right way. I wouldn't say, you know, that I did. I just cut out meat. I was like, I'm not gonna do, you know, a meat, but I was still, you know, if dairy were in things, I still consumed it. So it was a gradual process, and that's why today, I think people respect when I'm trying to educate them on the matter, or I'm just, you know, inviting them to BlackVegFest. The understanding is that, you know, we're not trying to force you. You know, you're gonna intersect at some point, you know, maybe for health, you know, ecological issues, you know, happening with the planet, you know, so in animal rights. Me, I happened to, when I became vegan from vegetarian, I was thinking, you know, animal rights, you know, and so this is 10 years, you know, 10 years April, you know, being, you know, vegan. So, you know, for about 20 years, making that transition, and then to 2013 being vegan. So I give people that kind of.
How long were you vegetarian? How long were you vegetarian before?
About 20 years.
Wow.
20 years.
Okay. Yeah.
and making that transition, it was easy for me because I had made, you know what I'm saying? It was a lot of time to thinking what I was doing, the things I was doing wrong. I'm like, man, I was like, most of these days I was doing it wrong. You know, I'm trying to figure this out. When you have that amount of time, it's great because you can educate in a different way. And because it's like, you might not get that person you're trying to get because the way you might have came at them. And that's not always, you know, that's one tactic. You know, most of the tactics I think are fine. Yeah. You know, most of the tactics in veganism, I feel are, you know, there's not an issue. I think there's just various different, you know, tactics. I think I do well with this particular one, you know, where we focus on, you know, BlackVegFest and trying to bring more light to different sanctuaries. A lot of sanctuaries we tend to work with. You know, Woodstock is, you know, is one of them. A lot of them have been in communication, you know, with me. And we're looking at doing, you know, a micro sanctuary, you know, ourselves at Liberation Farm, you know, and I think that kind of work, you know, be able to captivate, you know, a lot of, you know, our people who've asked these questions, you know, in terms just not knowing. I didn't know this about, you know, pigs, you know, I didn't know, you know, and how they act and how they behave. Once you see how things behave and so on and so forth, right? You just don't automatically just recognize not enough to be like they're alive, you know, no they're living and sentient.
So wait, what was it about? You said your switch to veganism was linked to, you know, animals' rights. So how did you get to that? How did you get to, what was it? Did you see a documentary? Did an elder speak to you about it? What happened?
It's so interesting. There's a radio station that I helped spark, you know, years later, you know, the vegan that was on there, you know, interviewed me, 2012, 2013. And in between segments, since, you know, I was vegetarian, so in between segments, you know, she was like, well, why don't you go vegan? But she was just asking because she knew I was no longer consuming milk, no dairy. So I would look at things, you know, I wasn't even, and so it was almost like, remember, it was such a transition, but right then and there, I was just like, man, you know, of course. After that, I think it took like maybe 2 weeks, and it still had these sidekick, you know, side effect benefits that you get, you know, when you happen to go vegan, right? That are health related. And my chronic bronchitis was like, wow, it was like gone because it's always there. It always feels like it don't matter. I was doing sports for years, but always, you know, felt congested all the time. And then one day I was like, I could, you know, you always remember that if that happens to you, soon as it happens, like, why was, you know, like, whoa, this is coming in really, you know, smooth. So that ended up happening. But that just short conversations, you know, like, yeah. And she was asking, not in a you know, disrespectful manner. Obviously, she had me on the, you know, the show and just to, you know, what she said. And it just when I get that kind of challenge, you know, and ask that, and I think that it is a challenge because, you know, obviously she's asking, why don't you change from being vegetarian to being vegan, which is going to be, and I remember thinking when I was a teen and I found out what vegan was, I was like, man, that's way too strict. But when you get older, you realize that's easy, you know. So it was, you know, incredibly easy. And this might have been before, just right before they got so many of these products. You know, but now today, when they have so many of these products that are available, you know, some things that, you know, and we don't need to, and we can make them, you know, out of the produce. So
which is better. No doubt. So because I know all these products started coming in like maybe like close to around when I went vegan. I think I went vegan in 2016. So that's when all the products were starting to come in little by little. But I did see them coming in like, wow, this joint is going crazy. But because I was influenced by my brothers. Really, my brothers have been vegetarian since the 90s. Really, you know, and so my shift was kind of gradual as well with the whole Rastafari influence. But talk to me a little bit about when did you begin organizing? When did you begin, as an organizer? When did you start organizing? And
Yeah.
and how was BlackVegFest born?
Oh, great, good. So I started organizing, I would say, as an adult, not being dragged to, and just making the conscious, decision to do that. I would say 2000, became a member of African people. Became a member of a Huru movement,
Right.
international democratic, Huru movement.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
And so that's their mass organization with folks, and then doing some work in there, and then they have to ask you if you want to be a member of the African People's Socialist Party. So I was like, yeah, and so that was my beginning of movement work.
Mhm.
And I was actually invited by M1 of Dept. I was doing an interview with him, and at Hunter. I was going to Hunter College. He had performed. This is when they just came out. This is 2000. This is when
So
Let's Get
Let's
Free
Get
actually
Free.
came.
Yeah, Let's Get Free. Just yeah.
So he's rocking, and it's like as soon as they perform, I'm like, man, this is dope. This is great, incredible. I wasn't even looking to do an interview with him. At least I don't see. I know. Actually, I was. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I had an interview with a bunch of artists underground hip hop. So I interviewed him, and I remember asking him a question because I was trying to do, and this is kind of segue into BlackVegFest, and so I remember asking him because we were trying to build a union. Later connected with him the next year to found an organization called Grassroots Artist Movement Game, and I asked, we could take more artists. You think we could sucker more artists, in hip hop, and he was like, we need more. We need more revolutionaries. We need more freedom fighters. He said we need more freedom fighters, and I definitely, I took that and I felt that piece, and then he was, told me there was a meeting that was coming up in Brooklyn, and I was, living in Brooklyn, born and raised. Went there, and then that was like a wrap. That was like, the beginning of me actually, organizing consistently. Because I say that that's when I started organizing, as an adult, and then going there, to meetings yourself, right? Not just, I'm not talking about like you volunteer here, once. I might have been to a bunch of protests, when I was young, when I was, teens, because there's always something that's happening.
Right.
There's always something, but you make the conscious decision to be like, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to go here, and I'm going to consistently do my work in this organization. And I consider organizations, when you're an organization organizing, so and it's people with theories on these things, who are understanding on it. So that took from there, doing that work, the local organization, the local group, because they were centered in St. Petersburg, Florida, a Hood movement. So some years had went by, but by 2001, the very next year, I wanted to build a union, a hip hop union, and I wanted it to be about bringing those resources back into the Black and Brown community. That was the goal, bring those resources back into the Black and Brown community, because I've had a crazy distaste, for this year, the 50th, hip hop anniversary. It's like, what did we get? You know what I mean? But I digress off that for now. But
we can get into that a little bit later.
Right. So this organization, Game, Grassroots Artists Movement, we were doing, building a union. Then it was like we had to focus on healthcare. Then we started addressing, healthcare issues. I ended up going to Lagos, Nigeria. I went there, my first time ever. And we were organizing with the folks, there. It was 2005. I've been building with them for like a while, and then finally went over there, in 2005. So Game started from 2001, and in 2018, I came with BlackVegFest. So I had thought about the idea 2013, right? That's when I went vegan. And almost right then and there, I was talking, a lot of different talks, being invited from, west to east, Atlanta VegFest, San Francisco, Switzerland, London, just a bunch of spots, even India. And so and always New York, around New York, just around that,
Right.
That area. And I realized something, I'm like, man, NYC. And I was doing so many different things, right? Because I also I already had a child at this point,
Okay.
born in 2001. And so around 2001, my daughter was born.
Mm-hmm.
I had been focused on so many different, things in terms of unionizing.
Okay.
And thinking health health. And so that's when we started thinking more about food. But it took until 2006 when we kind of started doing food and organizing folks, to give you a timeline. And then by the time we got to 2013, I thought about it, did some talks in a lot of those different spaces. And I realized that Black people was underrepresented, and I knew that there were Black vegans around.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, such and such was vegan, you know what I mean? And such is educating this on the corner, you know what I mean? He'll be, you know what I mean? It's like there were people that was up here, you know what I'm saying?
No doubt.
For a very long time. And I just wasn't seeing any. So one time there were like over 40 speakers in NYC as this vegan festival, and I was the only Black person, and it was only like maybe 2 people of color. That really bothered me, and I remember having talking to people, and and there were a trickle of Black people that were there. And these health events my mom used to take me to, Black people were always there. They were always in there. They didn't really invest in, and they didn't look at us as being educators, in these spaces. Otherwise, they would have asked us. And so people might not even conclude that. But if you're in the space and you hear what people say, and it, for a short period, it don't have to be long, for a short period. And I've been, for a while now, they don't trust what we're doing. And then it's also a lot of times when it's not just pure racist,
right?
And it still is, it'll just be based on, they rather keep the resources, you know what I'm saying? The sponsors, you know what I mean? That's a whole nother issue. They're gonna want to keep, you know what I'm saying, with a lot of those folks. But in any case, I had that idea, but my team was thinking like, nah, man, you need more time. Because I was like, man, we could do this 2-3 months.
You were like, let's get it popping in 3 months.
Right. And so I told you all the things I've been, I was doing. I was still organizing here and there. We're doing a bunch of things. I'm like, if I was selling other folks' books, as well, training people, in boxing, boxing, doing kickboxing, myself. I was basically trying to do the things that I wanted to do, and make sure, I continue to, teach my babies, continue to, nourish my baby. Can I continue to do movement stuff? And occasionally, because boxing would happen to be doing something I just wanted to, I just love boxing. So it was one of the things that I wanted to do, but a lot of the things are connected to liberation, and then boxing became connected to liberation. It teach me combat skills, so.
And it's also tied to your well-being, man. It's tied to your well-being, something that you love and that's giving you exercise. You know what I'm saying? That's how I view the love I have for the game of basketball is just tied to my well-being, man. When I play ball, it helps me, it makes me feel good, and
That's true, and you're 100% right. Exactly, that keep me sane, right?
Yeah.
So I was asking for years. I remember 2014. We the next year I ended up saving the domain BlackVegFest.com and the .org. You know what I'm saying? People probably know because a lot of people try to use it in different. I see some other Black, vegan festivals, and I just wanted people to do it, but if they were doing it based on liberation, you know, and also connect with us. But that's another thing we could touch on that.
That's key.
But it from 2014 to 2018, my team kept saying no. They said yes to 2017, and we started planning for 2018.
Okay.
You know,
that was the first one.
Yeah, and I really felt like, man, our people, man, what? Man, I used to go to these festivals all the time, man. These health, fairs, all the time. My mom used to take me to. I know Black people come in here. You know what I'm saying?
No.
I know they come in there, and we trying to bring the best shit every single time. Like what?
For
you
sure.
know, so and the people show up all the time.
For sure, man. Yo, when I saw it, I seen it online, man. And I showed my wife, man, and I was like, yo, look at this, man. Because my wife and I, we both went vegan together. So when we seen that, I was like, yo, we got to get to New York, man. But we haven't had the chance. We haven't had the chance yet, man. But we definitely want to get out there
next year.
For sure, man. But
it's an invite for you.
Yeah. Oh, man. Good look. Man, but listen, definitely please talk to me about that, what you said, man, because that's important. You said you wanted it to be tied to liberation, man. So it's not just, festivities, but, talk to me.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's a perfect intersection, of, food and how we could change. So the sustenance is there and, and it's a gathering, so we gather at this particular space. We come in here, annually, and we want to develop. Now, people are not going to come in there and then all of a sudden they're going to be scholars in liberation, or or even it's going to translate to them going right into the movement. They're going to be organizing immediately. Maybe not. Or whether they're going to be vegan or understand, ecology, understand, health, what to do. And I tell people, like, listen, I don't understand everything. This is a learning space for a lot of folks, and many of us, including me, of course, myself, but a lot of you, a lot of folks, y'all can teach something, y'all could bring something to the space. And that's one of the problems, man. And we think that people are just mouths to feed. We don't look at people as being resourceful. It's the most important resource. And we didn't even know we got to watch all these resources, you know what I mean? And talk about them, you know what I'm saying? The diamonds and the nitrogen and and the gas and and oil and what I'm saying, and gold and all these different things and all these minerals, all these raw resources. We don't recognize the raw resource that are within us that we can, what I'm saying? We gonna pick that stuff. We can put that somewhere. We can make some value of that stuff, So, what I mean? I used to be dying to go in the UN and understanding that what I learned about the UN, you know what I mean? That conflicts, but I love being at the UN. It's the possibility that these nations, like some of these nations come in here naive as shit.
Right.
Like we about to change some things, like we about to be this, but if you think about it, deeper, right? Taiwan goes there and that's how Taiwan gets light. Because it's not on, US, soil at that point. Taiwan is able to be recognized, as a nation, not something under China. US allows that, just so you know, it's not really recognized like that. But because the US has, so much power, people have this idea that it is totally recognized. China is like, man, that's ours. The same way you own Puerto Rico, and people think they going to Puerto Rico, like that shit ain't owned by the US. We own that shit. So, so the reason why I like the UN, I can learn about shit right there, about something nation. Somebody there, man, they're gonna be able to give me a jump ahead. Man, I got a cheat sheet right here about whatever nation. I'm gonna go there, I'm gonna find out all this information, And I think people will probably miss this sometimes. You got to have a business. You got to have a reason to be there. There got to be a particular reason. And guess what? There's a lot of free events. You can go ahead and find online, going to the UN, and then they can give you a press pass. They can give you a pass to go inside. And I always made up some type of way to learn and what was going on. but really be going to things that had some purpose. And so in any case, I had that understanding, but I also had the understanding of, United Nations, Food Agricultural Organization, or FAO, FAO. That organization undermines nations as large as India, which is the largest nation. It undermines organizations. So we haven't even had that conversation, over there. Yeah. I put out a book that talked about some of these things, an introduction to, veganism and agricultural globalism in 2015. And then a re-edition last year. Politics is near and dear to my heart, and so is food. So so this is the space that I wanted to be in. And not knowing a lot of the different things in depth, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But when it comes to the politics of food, man, this is what I've been training and learning, for so long. Yeah. So it's a space to discuss that and for me to learn. So I'm building a particular space that I'm gonna be able to learn. It's like a university that comes, every, second Saturday in August. So when BlackVegFest, builds this, it's not looking to just, we're gonna hop right into liberation. We're doing something that's being appreciated and being welcomed by the community. And I think that I always want to make him, know that, man, none of this stuff is, is easy, is difficult, is difficult work. But the same work that we're doing, we assume we like this is work that all liberators were doing. Like Frederick Douglass, man, the work he was doing, man, he was doing that, for Black people. It was, that's why he was doing that work. He wasn't doing that work to just get some money. You know that. Yeah. Harriet Tubman wasn't go ahead and just doing that, work for no reason. Fannie Lou Hamer, just so a lot of the folks who was doing a lot of this work, they weren't just coming out with a particular philosophy that they kind of stumbled on. They had you can see the love, the work that they did. You can see the love that they had for for the people. No doubt. And so some of the people recognize, some of the folks, recognize, some of that work. And so we could get them there, that's why I'm always thinking, then to that understanding, then they can get over, and they can, see themselves as being part of the work as well. Even if you work at a deli, you know what I mean? Yeah. Or you work at, a shop, some restaurant or something like that, you're significant and important to the, to the movement. The folks who would work, who was giving the food, back in the days to the Black Panther, Party, they were doing movement work. Yeah. They would, you know what I'm saying? Like the farmers, imagine we, the food we can have, we being farmers, we just know and this understanding of politics, and the stuff that's happened, recently, we recognize that, and what's always been happening with farm work, with Black farmers, for the longest, man, they just trying to hold up our food, so we can't feed each other. So we can't feed ourselves to make us dependent, upon them. Man, that should be illegal. It should be illegal for them to even not make sure that Black folks are able to feed themselves. It should be illegal. It's the entire time, but they will play games with you. They'll be like, you're making it about race. It is. It's not everybody, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's all, it's white folks in the Congress, you know what I'm saying? If you recognize as a Black, legislative caucus, then you already recognize, race. Right. So you got to pull these different pieces, because this is how the USDA acts, man, with funds. They don't try to give it, they try to keep it away from you. Yeah. Even when they'll get a surplus, certain years, but they'll try to keep it, away from you. So, but with BlackVegFest, it's like, man, it's our step into sovereignty. We have to be over our food. So we have to be educating, ourselves in that space. And folks are coming and they could come to it, and why would people, because we get a lot of time when we promote BlackVegFest, and folks will be like, why is it gotta be Black? Why is, Black in it? man, we don't pay attention to that, anymore. For me, I definitely, I don't, but I feel like we gotta say something like every year, about that once. And so Black people know that you need to be over your own food. You got to know that you need to be over your own food. Somebody else is running your food, and it's white folks.
Yeah.
That's who's running your food, how you get it, the labels, so on and so forth. So these are the same people that you're hearing that are saying, why is it got to be Black? Listen to them.
Yeah.
Hear what they're saying. Who's saying it? Watch them.
Yeah.
Every single thing, because they're like, they don't even understand what privilege is. Privilege is being able to be like, man, all your food, come from somebody white. And they'll try to act like racism, is not a particular thing, but it is for us, routinely and regularly.
So listen, man, you touch on some real important points, man. I like the fact that you spoke about how, every little part of the struggle is important. But when we talking about the food, man, and the importance, you're saying the importance of controlling our food and cultivating food for us, for African people. Talk to me a little bit about, what you got going on now with Liberation Farm, which really ties into that.
Right. It really was just actual, the transition to that. And I tell people all the time, my strategy is transparency. Honestly, I'm going to do this. And then so people can get on heads for that, because people basically gonna come back and, you know what I mean? And I just feel like my enemies gonna be my enemies. You know what I'm saying? So my enemies gonna be my enemies, but I wanna make sure that, my comrades, my future comrades and friends and allies can hear me, can see me, and know about the history of work. So when we did it in BlackVegFest, by the time we was going to go on Liberation Farm, we had a number of people that were looking to support. We were able to get a lot of that, that particular support, and that was huge for us, because we definitely needed it. And so Liberation Farm is this idea that you can't have food sovereignty without land sovereignty, and it's a space that we want to make, Black folks, home, healing space, resource, like what can we do with the land, that's beneficial to Black people? How can we create cooperatives within the land, where people have a right on the land? How can we do it in the fairest way possible, the safest way possible? So we started with my wife and I are the stewards of a Liberation Farm, Nadia Muyib Adewale. And for this journey, Liberation Farm and BlackVegFest, she been, with me in doing that work. So on Liberation Farm, we essentially had this, the first space that we had was a different space, right? So we had this name, we have this name, we have this idea. We was on a farm, 17 acres. It take work. I realized the first, ritual you have to have when you have in this particular land, I think it's two, at some point. One is where you kind of make clear that it's a Black space, and you want to, what I'm saying, and you basically you manage that space, right? And that's one. You making that that's a Black space. And then it's just recognizing, the land that was stolen from indigenous people. You could do, one before the other. So essentially those two things have to be done. So it's an understanding in terms of what the mission is and what the reality is. The reality is, the land was stolen. And we recognize this. Even though the land was stolen 500 years ago, you know what I'm saying? People are still fighting for that land. People are still fighting for recognition. Let me say, hold on. People are still fighting. People who had their land taken away from them and then moved, displaced, they're still fighting for recognition. Yeah. The Lenape people, the Lenape nation, of Pennsylvania, every year, essentially, they go up and down, the Pennsylvania River, with their group, letting folks know that they're there, right? Yeah. So, but I want to give people, kind of that understanding, because we have this false notion that that the work of indigenous people, trying to reclaim their land or trying to just be recognized for their land, specific, like many different, from all over the country. Yeah. And Leonard Peltier, of American Indian Movement, who's been locked up the longest. Yeah. As a political prisoner. So the fact that like nobody would want that to be known, you know what I mean? Like, and folks will be like, man, he was dead. Like he was supposed to be fighting. You know what I mean? So this is some of the, these are the issues, these are the issues. And so we move and we move with a particular, consciousness and knowing that people might not know this. And so we're going to have to educate folks on that, on that particular issue. The space is there for Black folks to heal. We need to heal. We need to have a space to have fun. We need to have a space that we could be ourselves, that we could train, because white folks are nosy. Yeah. Particularly, white folks, are nosy. You know what I mean? One of the things we on the first 17 acres was that here we talking about liberation of animals, we talking about liberation, of people, and we want to liberate that, for the earth, essentially what we're building, it kind of it's an ecosystem. Everything is, from the land, right? But while we're on the land, man, we had to keep telling people, man, you can't just come through the land, like that. It'll be coming right behind the house. And so that was one of the issues that we had. And so we had some other folks, come and help and create these barriers. And we Black folks, and we saying we don't need white folks coming on the land. We didn't realize until we was about to be, displaced from the, neighbor was saying, I don't like when the snowmobilers come either. They just come and start singing. And so it's like noise, it's all this. It's not just them walking, but it's just, like it's everything. It's any and everything if it comes people coming up onto the land. But they add to it a nuisance, and some started doing it on purpose, would you realize, as well. So we now on this this land, that was Sullivan County. Now we're at Delaware County, and this is 340 acres. This particular space, is a large enough space to really do, to cultivate the land, and also make sure it's a healthy, and healing space, for Black people, and so right now in the U.S., a lot of people don't know, Black people, own 1% of the land, 1%, right? And so like about 97%, is white. So imagine somebody telling you that there's no racism. They got way more than their proportion, and owning, pretty much practically all the land. Yeah. Any document, 97, 98, depending on what you're looking at in terms of what white folks own. So it's like other people don't even own anything. So when folks are talking about, make it great again, it's like, man, we want to go back to 100%, and own everything. Yeah. So it's like, it's ridiculous, because that for me is example enough that they discriminate, because Black folks have always been trying to get land. We always try to get land. And then this land, that's supposed to be owed to us, and a land that was taken. Land was taken from us so many different ways. Mm-hmm. Land was, people would take it outright, kill us, take it through, different, legally, and around the way, and they make up the laws, So it's been creative ways, it's been outright violence.
Barbaric ways.
So when we get on this particular space and look to make the space, and extend that out to, to folks, man, and they come. We started in 2021. I mean, we've had, couple hundred people already, just coming and just stay on the land, camping, and folks would just come and just camp with us, the feedback is always beautiful. And that's because the folks who organize a particular space, you have to be, you almost, put aside your feelings temporarily to create the space that's going to be positive. And so that's the kind of work. I mean, you always have to give something of yourself. And I feel like that's why I've always felt strongly about organizers, and I don't know if you ever seen Malcolm X. You ever saw Malcolm X?
Of course.
Before. Yeah. And at the end, with what Spike Lee said, has everybody do is say, "I am Malcolm X." It basically, this is what Malcolm was trying to do. Malcolm wasn't trying to create basketball players, right? So imagine, it's like Michael Jordan created a lot of basketball players, right? And I was talking to, and what I said to M1 about, artists and people create warriors, what I'm saying? People, all this, he was here trying to get organized. People who's gonna stand up for their community and who's gonna be, resources. Like, it's not, you can look at his life, it's not easy work. Right. It's not easy, but it feel like home, it feels like I'm supposed to be here. Like, it always feel like that in this world. Like, oh yeah, this is easy. And I tell people, like, I'm saying it's easy, like it's hard work, but I'm saying it's like, man, this should come naturally. That's what I'm saying. No it come naturally, like it was supposed to happen. And a lot of things that's supposed to happen is still, growing pains. There's still, whatever you're doing. But the fact that, people come and, put their food in, or they'll come and they'll volunteer, so that volunteer, that particular love that assists, that assists the organizer to do the work. So really, it's like, look at it so many different ways. And people like, man, I know such and such is doing a lot of this work routinely. Well, let me come in this one day. Let me come in 2 days. You need, sometimes people, reach out, like they want to assist and they want to develop. And so we just trying to slowly grow, but create and build the capacity, and with a better plan at this time. So on Liberation Farm, Nadia does a lot of the growing of the food. I do a lot of the philosophy, but we do both. Both of us will do all the things. You know what I'm saying? And she does an exceptional job, and most of everything, it does a huge majority of those pieces. But so we're able to break up the work sometimes, and then sometimes we're able to, keep it tight on one thing. We both focusing on, one particular issue. But we all, like, any different times, somebody might, get me, they may get her. At this point where we are in New York, like, we don't have a working Black food system. And so we've been building that. When I say we, I mean, this encompasses Liberation Farm. Black folks have been building that, and we're right there, and that includes, a lot of folks that we work with. And, it'd be great that folks, Black folks reach out to, Black Farmers United, New York State, doing a lot of, key work, it's Karen Washington's, work, and who's a legend today, and still with us. So there's a lot of, work that is, creating, but what we want to have is people just, a space to mellow out, to train. We create curriculum for folks. People can come in and opt out of the curriculum. Generally, they don't. They love to come for something, whatever we have, but it's not a new thing for somebody to do some of the curriculum and then I'm gonna chill on these other times. We can go walk over here. There's lakes, there's beautiful views of the mountains, incredible trails, for hiking, and then, different space and building, so, and then we're going to grow food, man. We're going to be, we're going to grow food, and that's just going to be even if we all over the land, it's going to be a small piece. But it got to start somewhere.
Of course, yeah. Talk to me a little bit about that. What have you been able to grow over there? What have you been growing as far as food?
Oh, okay. So our main crop is beets. We've been growing beets. As I we're talking about addressing heart disease. Remember hypertension. Issues, and so those go great in juices. The different the ITAL shops. Juicing beets. For sure with the greens. We do kale. We do we've grown spinach. Nice. Even some of our mentors were like, man, don't try to grow everything. Because they did. We end up growing everything. We grow potatoes. We grow on so many different herbs, man. Cumin oregano. Parsley, just and okra. We're gonna really be focused on okra. Just because, man, that's Black food. That's the foods that we came with, and so we can tell a story. With like watermelon seeds. Okra, and let them know, like, if we have some, how can it be, an issue if we had these seeds and we brought these seeds here and we were able to grow and we were able to teach, teach it. We just don't benefit from it now, So that's been our focus, and really trying to just organize how many, what crops we do. We always changing the different crops, but next year, what we have. We're focusing on our beets, watermelon, okra, and greens. Kale and spinach. And we're trying to get garlic, into the ground, and because of climate change, you might have a chance, because it normally it'll get cold over here, already. Really too cold in the ground. Especially where we are. We're about 4 hours, 3.5 to 4 hours, from New York,
the city.
Yeah, so, but it's not there yet. But we want to try to get that garlic, into the ground, so it can come out around, later on in the season, later on next year.
Food to heal.
Of course, man, definitely. Oh, we also do tomatoes. We do tomatoes too. We've been doing tomatoes, number of seasons. We're still new farmers. We started in 2021, but every year we've just been growing. 2022, we grew more, and then this year, we're working on 2 acres. And growing food, but we've been, it hasn't been without its issues, its problems, because, man, it's just, farming is not easy.
Of course,
Farming is not easy, especially in terms of getting the produce to the consumer. So, and that's been one of our issues, and that's one of the things that we trying to build in our food system, pipeline, like really how to get through the pipeline, fuel is high, making sure that you have enough vehicles, in your fleet. You want to get produce there. So and those massive trucks, just wondering, they might be over there for some other brand, but just for our community, like, we might not have those resources, in that system, design, because we've been out of it, for so long. And so what people normally see, you'll see like a farmer, right? They'll have like acres and they'll be, growing their food, right? And they'll come and they'll supply, certain farmers, right? They'll be coming when they can. Yeah. They usually might have to, work with a bulk order. Pretty much everybody working with a bulk order, but they might do like farm boxes. So we've done farm boxes. Like you do a farm box, right? Or you'll sell your produce, at the market, sometimes. But getting it into supermarkets, that's a different, it becomes a difference, getting them into the supermarkets and then making sure that your produce can stand out, where it's consistent, regular, because if you get in this, in one of the supermarkets, that can be, recurrent, so it's just, much more regular. But sometimes the farmers are just, just selling to people locally, as well, but not being in that system, in vastly getting rid of their produce. So there's always produce that is also, produce that might rot. You gotta make sure you have refrigeration. We belong to co-op at Chester Agricultural Center. So we have some stability there, and that's been been growing. But next year is supposed to be a lot more Black farmers with more advantages to be able to get into the city. Essentially, people want to get to New York City. They want to get to the community, and a lot of the communities just they don't make that switch to making sure they're at the farmers market, in mass, because it's not close enough to the community. Sometimes it is, but some markets, some farmers markets are doing a lot better. But we were at one sister was trying to, and I know trying to do Black farmers markets where essentially, because you do have a lot of Black farmers who are out there, but it doesn't mean they own the land. It doesn't mean they're not having significant difficulty, but it's tough to get a cohort of, just, the Black farmers, and so, once it's couldn't, she couldn't do that. She, I know she was trying to do that. We was at the farm, at the market, but we have to struggle, with being, consistent, because the fuel costs are just, it's ridiculous. It's something else. But those are the things we have to work out. So what I was saying in terms of like the food system not allowing Black people to, feed themselves, that sovereignty, that's one of the things that's missing. Not going and addressing, fuel, not going and addressing, what issues that might be happening with the soil. How the soil might be, affected, right? Particular, getting the right amount of, nutrients, just purchasing, orders, not just manufacturing, but also, space-wise, refrigeration. The farmers have to think about, all these different things, and, how much do they need to grow, and then how they getting it out, and not just, not being able to harvest.
Yeah, it's a serious organization. You have to be seriously organizing as far as getting.
And you gotta like it.
Right.
Right.
Right. Well, like I said, man, much respect, man, for all the work that you're doing, man. Next time I get up to New York City, I definitely want to, get my hands in the dirt a little bit. And,
good.
And do what I can do, bring a little bit of help, man. But listen, I want to talk to you. You've been generous with your time, and I appreciate you. I want to talk to you a little bit about your book, Brother Vegan, right? Talk to me a little bit about that process, man. Why did you decide to write that book, and talk to me a little bit about the process?
Well, you can't take any credit for it, man. I'm honored because I'll take, what I'm saying is like Sister Vegan, sparked everything off. Before that, we're trying to do 10 years after, which would have put it in 2020. She did it in 2010. And so even at that time, like that's before the huge, increase, of Black vegans. right? We've always been there, but that particular increase just, helped with the, in terms of the literature, at that time. Some years before the book came out, I think it might have been 2018 when they kind of tapped me in Lantern, which put out Sister Vegan. They told me that Breeze was interested in me taking that on, and that's what they want. They came to that decision, and so I'm like, man, that's great. I forget what the conversation. I'm like, man, she was down. Okay, good, all right. you know, but that's my sister, man. She's dope. And when I remember, hearing about the book and then, having the book, years before that, we connected. And so that was, that was great. So that was definitely on my honor. Having some of the people on there and being able to select, who's gonna, be a part of the book, was great. And the folks we got, man, I think it was, solid. I think, you had solid folks. Of course, I already told you about Dept Press, so we got both of, them, talking about family, Dr. Milton Mills. Yep. Man, it's great to have him, in the piece, just, because he's had such an excellent presentation. I love his presentation since I met him at another festival in New York.
He's been at the BlackVegFest though, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But I found him there first, and then I, like, okay. Oh yeah, we need to bring this brother. And we had him a number of times. We had him a number of times. It's always a great repeat. Richard Rogers of Philadelphia, VegFest, as well. I think, that was necessary just in, terms of the work that he's doing there. I think he started, Philly VegFest 2014, around that time. And so we had a number of, dope folks, ETEF as well, who he's a dope DJ, but man, he'll tell you, about what's happening with the earth, his brother is just, it's powerful. So we've connected in a number of cities, just a great spirit, man. I mean, all the folks that we had, man, Tori Washington, bodybuilder, for sure. Just a lot of awesome, brothers on there that are really just communicating, just different like lifestyles. I think but they're all vegan, come at it from a different perspective, and that's healthy, for our community. And me, I'm I'm gonna come off as radical as possible, but I'm utilizing, my point, to organize folks. And what better way to organize folks, than to have, different viewpoints, different presentations, orientations, to this particular, I think veganism, a way of life, but it's also a lot of the folks who are in the book are also educating people. So it's, they're doing, different pieces of organizing, our community, and I think it was healthy. We had some other folks in there. I think it was our brother, Lord Cannon, man, hood dude, really do.
Who is that? Who is that?
Lord Cannon, and I think he actually went by something else, what I'm saying? He had another name in there, but this is a brother who's, probably have another brother that's around the way, you know what I mean? But that's real honest, and kind of talking about, his journey. And I remember him, one of the younger folks, younger dudes on there, he probably in his 20s when we did it. But he came to one of his potlucks. So it was a potluck, man. We had potluck like just out there in the park, and I love those. You know, I forget who organized that, man. Jeez. So we went there, man. It's always good to, man, anytime you go in the summer and you grab and get some food, you know what I'm saying, or nothing, you know, and especially if it's vegan, because you know how tough it's to get. It's great. So I'm meeting this brother, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, hey, what's up, brother? How you doing? I want to give him a flyer. He was like, oh yeah, and he wanted to talk to me about it. He was over here, he was eating. He was like, when he first came, he asked, like, can I have something? Like, yeah, Trace. You know, and he didn't even know it was happening.
Okay.
But he's vegan.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't that many vegans that's just walking around like that. Even
Right.
nowhere near like that.
True.
So and so we just, you know, from there.
That's dope.
So I definitely wanted to, you know, tap him in and bring him in. Some great brothers. I'm thinking, got a young brother. I'm missing. I'm losing his name, but you're gonna look for the young kid who's the boxer in Brother Vegan, and I definitely gotta, you know, at least say his name. But
yeah,
I mean,
go ahead.
so he helped his own family, man, go vegan.
That's dope.
And he helped that also by winning, because you know sometimes people just they see somebody who's winning and they be like, man, I think maybe they onto something, you know. But he got his family to go vegan.
That's
You know,
dope.
he got his family.
That's difficult, man. That's difficult.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Listen. People talk about this all the time. Some of the issues that I hear people talking about, they might not, you know, some people, when people ask me, well, what do you eat? I don't always look at that as a problem. They're really trying to find out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're really trying to find out, like, and people don't understand it. It's like, man, it's not a crazy question.
Right. True.
You know, it's not a crazy question. Like, you got to think about it. And these people be shocked about it. Be like, man, you weren't vegan for 20, 30 years. You know what I'm saying? Think about it. It's first, you know what I'm saying? Second nature.
True.
You know what I'm saying? So they already know. They know me, but you know what I'm saying? And they've been taught that this stuff, are they wrong? Yeah, they wrong. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes people just don't. Sometimes people just don't understand. You know, what the food does, and that becomes that becomes a good conversation to have. You know, have a lesson. You know,
Well, you know,
and
all of our parents and even us, we've been hit with the propaganda our whole lives, man. You know, whether it's milk, meat, whatever. Like, yo, you need this. It's good for your bones. It's good for your muscles. It's good for your body. So you know.
right. The boxer is Raleigh born. I didn't want to forget. You know, and I think just the way we just, you know, everything came together. A lot of support from Lantern. I think it was a powerful piece, and also, well, Breeze and I are actually, you know, I know she wants to do a curriculum. I know she wants to do a curriculum, and so we've been, you know, talking about that, and even, you know, possibly doing a tour, you know, maybe next year. You know, it's just, but whatever it is, I know we're gonna connect. I know we're gonna, you know, collab. I know she has some ideas for the series. You know, and you know, we have some things that's coming up. You know, that'll be specific to, you know, to Brother Vegan, and just trying to get, you know, as many folks to connect with as possible in our community. And there are a number of ways, and I mean, I happen to be vegan for me, you know, to be honest. You know, but I'm thinking, if you're gonna if I care about the animals, I guess I'm gonna try to let other people know about it. I think, you know, and if I care about the people, I think I'm gonna let them know about it. So it just, you know, I think that essentially, that's why I think it's, you know, becomes simple and easy.
Yeah.
It becomes simple and easy. And simple and easy don't mean that you can, you know, make the mistakes. It just means that I come to that conclusion, you know, rather, you know, it's not tough, you know, to come to that conclusion, you know, to do that, you know.
Yeah, man. Appreciate that, my brother. Listen, before I let you go, man, a couple of things. First of all, we got this thing over here at the Vital Hoops Podcast where we like to recommend books, man. I feel like, unfortunately, these days, man, a lot of people are just getting their information from, quick 5-10 second clips on TikTok or something, and then they think they know
Hey,
something. So,
of course,
so it's important for us, especially for us African people, man, to get back to these books. You know what I mean, and to do the
always.
knowledge, as they say. So, if you have any good book or a couple books that you would like to recommend the listeners, man, that are good for growing.
Of course, of course. Well, the first one I'm gonna give you, Penny Hess, Overturning the Culture of Violence. You know, I definitely want to give you that one, first. And people got to definitely get my 2022 version, An Introduction to Veganism and Agricultural Globalism. In IMF, and the World Bank is, it's the debt. It's the debt. That's a subline, IMF and the World Bank. And that's basically how nations get trapped into debt purposefully. People should understand that, and they use food. And so that was one of the that's from 1974. That's one of the one of the books that really shape how I understand economics and research.
Okay.
And food. So I think those particular books more so, and anything by Yeshitela, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, as well. Why I became revolutionary.
Mm-hmm.
Piece that little book, added so much context, to my understanding, today. And he has another book. It's crazy. I never thought you could forget books that you read from cover to cover, but I forgot it. It's on the same imprint as Overturning the Culture of Violence.
Okay.
And that really, I mean, it kind of explains, why you became a organizer.
Okay.
And I tend to say organizer other than revolutionary, because sometimes when people use it, it kind of like romanticize, what I'm saying, doing it. And I feel like sometimes accidental because I'm sure I've, romanticized it, but I never mean to, but with that being said, it is a special thing. I watched there's so many different versions of Harriet Tubman, and none of them are ever is to my liking, right? But this one was decent enough. It's just never to my liking, you know what I'm saying? Because it was like, man, imagine what there couldn't even be a film for it. Like
Right.
everything is gonna be too short. It's just so much history and so much and I just was in awe. I'm like, man, like what? It was one part I was watching, and this is right when she came. Of course, people are gonna tell a black woman, even black men are gonna be like, man, you're not gonna be able to get free by yourself. You can't go by yourself, So, and then people are like, oh, you're gonna go back now? You can't go back, you know what I'm saying? So she was at a whole level. The first when she did it, she was, we listen to you. It was like, okay, we listen to, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you got to listen to the person doing it. And I felt that, and I felt that, man, that was like special. I would never want to, you know what I mean? Dishonor that, that type of work, that you do. You just on automatic.
Right. Guided by the ancestors.
Right. Exactly. I definitely appreciate the talk. It's also always good.
Yeah, man. Let me. I'm gonna have down in the description. I'm gonna have definitely a link to your book. I'm gonna mention the other books, and please tell the listeners before you go, man. The socials, website, wherever they can check out what you got going on, you know, Liberation Farm, BlackVegFest, whatever. And I'm gonna have that down in the description as well. But go ahead, man.
Definitely. BlackVegFest, you know, is coming August 10th, 2024 on Saturday, the second Saturday of August. More information, blackvegfest.org. Also IG, Black VegFest. For Liberation Farm, NYS. That's for IG. That's also for Facebook. But you'd also Google Liberation Farm and get our website, get everything. LiberationFarm.org is our website, but you can find more information on how to reach us, what we're doing, and those avenues.
No doubt. Everybody, make sure you go check out what the brother Omowale got going on, all the great work, and I appreciate you, my brother.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me, brother.
No doubt, man. We're gonna keep it.
Yeah, right.
We're gonna keep going. We're gonna win, man. We're gonna win.
Yes. By any means necessary.
No doubt. Peace, my brother.
Peace.
All right. We give thanks to the brother Omowale. Y'all better listen to this one twice because there's a lot of information. I appreciate you all for watching, for listening. Make sure you go to blackvegfest.org, go to liberationfarm.org, go to vitalhoops.net, and support. Please like, share, subscribe. Send us an email, VitalHoopsPodcast@gmail.com. And we appreciate you. Please tell a friend to tell a friend. Spread the word. Share this episode if you enjoyed it. And we'll see you next time. Vital Hoops is for the culture. Uhuru.